A Quiet Night In by Jill Murphy. This is another one of the stories about the elephant family. "I want you all in bed early tonight," said Mrs. Large. "It's Daddy's birthday, and we're going to have a quiet night in." "Can we be there too?" asked Laura. "No," said Mrs. Large. "It wouldn't be a quiet night with the gang of you all charging around like a herd of elephants." "But we are a herd of elephants," said Lester. "Smarty pants," said Mrs. Large. "Come on now, coats on, it's time for school." That evening, Mrs. Large had the children bathed and in their pajamas before they had even had their dinner. They were all very cranky. "It's only 4:30, said Lester. "It's not even dark yet." "It soon will be," said Mrs. Large grimly. After their baths, the children started making place cards and decorations for the dinner table. Then they all cleaned up. Then Mrs. Large cleaned up again. Mr. Large arrived home looking very tired. "We're all going to bed," said Lester. "So you can be quiet," said Laura. "Without us," said Luke. "Shh," said the baby. "Happy birthday," said Mrs. Large. "Come and see the table." Mr. Large sank heavily into the sofa. "It's lovely, dear," he said, "but do you think we could have our dinner on trays in front of the TV? I'm feeling a little tired." "Of course," said Mrs. Large. "It's your birthday. You can have whatever you want." "We'll help," said Luke. The children ran to the kitchen and brought 2 trays. "I'll set them myself," said Mrs. Large. "We don't want everything ending up on the floor." "Can we have a story before we go to bed?" asked Luke. "Please," said Lester. "Go on, Dad," said Laura. "Just one." "Story," said the baby. "Oh, all right," said Mr. Large. "Just one, then." Lester chose a book, and they all cuddled up on the sofa. Mr. Large opened the book and began to read. "One day, Binky Bus drove out of the big garage. 'Hello,' he called to his friend Mickey Milk Truck." "I don't like that one," said Laura. "It's a boy story." "Look," said Mr. Large, "if you're going to argue about it, you can all go straight to bed without any story." So they sat and listened while Mr. Large read to them. After a while, he stopped. "Go on, Daddy," said Luke. "What happened after he bumped into Gary Garbage Truck?" "Did they have a fight?" asked Lester. "Look," said Laura, "Daddy's asleep." "Shh," said the baby. Mrs. Large laughed. "Poor Daddy," she said. "Never mind, we'll let him snooze a little longer while I take you all up to bed." "Will you just finish the story, Mom?" asked Lester. "We don't know what happens in the end," said Luke. "Please," said Laura. "Story," said the baby. "Move over then," said Mrs. Large, and she picked up the book and began to read. "Watch where you're going, you silly garbage truck," said Binky. Just then Patty the police car came driving by. After a while, Mrs. Large stopped reading. "What's that strange noise?" asked Lester. "It's Mommy snoring," said Luke. "Daddy's snoring too." "They must be very tired," said Laura kindly. "Shh," said the baby. The children crept from the sofa and got a blanket, and they covered Mr. and Mrs. Large and tucked them in. "We'd better put ourselves to bed," said Lester. "Come on." "Should we take the food up with us?" asked Luke. "It is on trays." "It's a pity to waste it," said Laura. "I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Anyway, they wanted a quiet night in." "Shh," said the baby. The end. Please hit the subscribe button at Kathy Reads so you never miss story time. And if you liked this story, please hit the like button too. Thank you.